This conference will now be recorded.
All right, guys. So today we're going to do law of sines and law of cosines. These don't pop up in real life too often, but when they do, there's not a lot of other easy ways to do problems. Okay. And the first thing before you can even start doing these, you need to understand some basic principles. All right. If we call this side A, B, and C, all right, the the angle across from A will be angle A. And the angle across from B will be angle B, and the angle across from C will be angle C. We typically use a capital letter for the angle and a lowercase letter for the side, but that's not a hard, fast rule. Yeah. The first relationship that happens here is there's a proportion that you can make with these. So you can, if you played with the math a little bit, you get the sine of A divided by, sorry, the sine of angle A divided by side A is going to be proportional to the side of angle B over B is equal to the sine of angle C over C. And what you'll do is you'll end up with two of these where they'll give you like, say this, not that. They'll give you like this, this, and this, and they'll ask you for what this is, yeah? And you just do a proportion. It's not hard, all right? So we'll do a few of those. So I would probably, in my notes, I kind of wish they had these on your notes. I would probably draw that triangle, right? So if this is A, then this is A. If this is B, then this is B. And if this is C, then this is C. And it doesn't matter which one you call A, B, and C, as long as the one across them is the same thing. Okay? And the law of sines, that's the formula, yeah? You're not going to use all three of those fractions, just pick two of them, yeah? All right, so let's look at example one. You will need a calculator to do these, all right? All right, so what do we have? We have angle 74 is across from B, right? So we would say the sine of 74 over B, and then I have to find the other one. 45 is across from, so we would say the sine of 45 over 30, all right? And that's just a proportion, right? So you get the sine of 74 times 30 is equal to the sine of 45 times B. So you would just divide both sides by the sine of 45. And whatever that is your answer. And notice I didn't do any estimating, okay? I didn't estimate as I went. I wrote it like this because now I'm canceling, right? So whatever that is my answer. If you wanted the exact answer, that's the exact answer. Sine of 79, or is that 74? 74 times 30 over the sine of 45. All right? But if you want to estimate it to the nearest tenth, we just do the math, right? And what did we get here? We got the sine of 74, right? Make a fraction. What do you say, 74 times what, please? 30 over? Not the inverse sign. Oh, the Trollius program. Hey, Texas Instruments, your program sucks. One more time, what was it? Sine of what? I can't mess these up because that happens all the time. Great. Times?
30.
Over?
Sine 45.
And let's do sine this time. 45?
Yes.
Enter. Around 40.8, yeah? So B is around 40.8. Pretty simple? Not hard at all. Real simple. All right, let's try it again. All right, so they're giving you a little twist here. Why? They're hiding something from you. You need angle E, good, because if I knew what this angle was, that would be across from the 24, right? Well, I do know what angle E is. It'd be 180 minus 82 plus 40, right? What are we at? 102? So 78? 122. So what are we at? 58? That's 58. All right. So we get the sine of 58 over 24 is proportional to the sine of 82 over d. And then all you're going to do is cross multiply all this, right? So cross multiply, you get what? D times the sine of 58 is equal to 24 times the sine of 82. Divide both sides by the sine of 58 and you're done, whatever that is. I'll let you guys do that. Someone do the math for that. What is D? Say it again. 0.0. Let's have that conversation real quick. If it says round to the nearest tenth, then you should write the tenths place, even if it's 0. Okay? I will count off for that tonight. If it says round the nearest tenth, then you write 28. That is not the same thing as 28.0 when you're talking about accuracy. Okay? So be careful with that. All right. Is that hard? All right, let's try it again. Do we have one with the angle or no? They didn't give us a single one with the angle, huh? Fail on their part. All right. Let's at least do the process behind this. You know what? Let's just change this real quick. So let's say, let's call this, let's change number 1. Let's call this X. And then the one across from the, let's call this, I don't know, 30. We'll say 30. That'll make it more interesting. All right. Because the rest are just the same thing over and over again. Yeah. I don't think we need to do that many examples. So we're going to say the sine of this over this, right? So the sine of what? X over 12 is proportional to sine of 80 over 30. Cross multiply, we get the sine of X times 30 is equal to 12 times the sine of 80. So we're going to divide that by 30, right? And that one we're going to have to figure out what it is, right? So that one I would actually do. But 12 times the sine of what? Sine of 80. All of divided by 30. All right. So we get around 0.39, right? I'm going to leave that number alone. So this comes out to about 0.39-ish. Yeah? Equals what? The sine of X, right? So how do we get rid of it? Inverse, right? Yeah? All right. So we get X equals whatever the inverse sine of 39 is, right? Of that. So I want the inverse sine of, I'm going to paste that. You stink. Gotta love this thing. Is that what we get? 23.2? So 23.2 what? Degrees. So be careful with that, yeah? All right, so that's what you would do if you were trying to solve for the angle. All right, so that one's pretty easy. It's not hard at all right? The not so easy one is the law of cosines. So let me show you why you need the law of cosines first. Okay, let's say I had this problem right here. Don't copy this, just kind of watch. I have an issue, right? I don't know what this angle is, so I'll call it angle B. And I don't know what this angle is. This is angle A. And you may be thinking, well, I have enough to solve it, Mr. Gillespie, because I have two sides and two angles. But if you start doing the math, let's just say I use this one right here, right? These two right here. Why is it not writing? Oh, wow. Now we just crash. Are we crashing here? We're just going to randomly pee on the screen?
This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so after that technical difficulties, this is across from this, right? And if I call this B and I call this A, if I set up the proportion, the problem I'm going to have is I'm going to say the sine of 48 over C is equal, and if I pick one, I have a problem, right?
Yeah.
I get the sine of B over 10, can't solve it, two variables. Now, there is a way to do it. You can set up a system to do it, okay? But if you played with the system long enough, you start realizing why the law of cosines exists, all right? I don't think I've ever seen the proof of why the law of, I have. I have seen the law of cosines proven. And they do something about turning it into right triangles, which is where this a squared b squared thing comes from. Okay, so there's something about right triangles. It's been a while since I've done it. But you can't solve this one, right? You need an angle and a side across from it, and then you only need, so if I knew what this was, we would have been okay, because we could have solved for A. But since we have two variables that we don't know, we cannot solve it without a system or something else clever. Yeah? All right. So that's where the law of cosines pops in. All right. And I'm going to show you a really easy way to memorize the law of cosines. It's a lot of work. All right. But it's actually pretty easy to memorize if you get this down. So let's just look at the first part. Let's look at the last one right here. This one first. What does that look like? All right, so look how this is the way I've memorized it in the past, and it's actually pretty easy. You do c squared equals a squared plus b squared. Now here's what you do. Minus 2 times whatever these are, whatever this and this is. So minus 2 ab cosine of whatever angle goes with that. So c, yeah? So I'm not going to look at this. I'm going to do it without it. So I'm going to say b squared equals a squared plus c squared minus, what was it? 2 times those two letters, so AC cosine of big B. Yeah? It's big B because it's the angle, not the side, yeah? And then the last one the same way, right? B squared plus C squared. B and C goes here, cosine of that angle. All right? Now you'll end up having a lot of algebra here, just so you know. All right? It'll take some work. All right, so let's work our way through this. When do I use this formula? I need the 3 touching like this and the side opposite from the angle. So see what I have here. If I wanted to find angle A, right, this one right here, look what I have. This here and the one across from it. See how it works? All right, that's when this gets triggered. All right, so what do? Well, that's angle C, right? So I'm going to first write the formula without trying to look at it, right? So what do I get? C squared equals a squared plus b squared minus 2ab cosine of c, right? Like I said, try to start memorizing that. All right, so what is C? Nope. What is C? If I knew it, I'd be done. So C squared equals, it doesn't matter which one you call A and B, but if we want to leave it with this, we'll call it 12 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 12 times 10 times the cosine of 48. Okay, now look at this real quick. That's just pure numbers, yes? So if you don't want to estimate that, you could type that straight into a calculator, yeah? Which is what I'm going to do. If you don't want to estimate it, then type it straight in. What do we get? 12 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 12 times 10 times, careful, it's cosine, not sine, cosine of, what was the angle? 40? 48? And I hear what you guys are saying, but I'll do it myself. 48. 83.4, yeah? So C is 83.4, right? Wrong. That's what C squared is. Good job. So 83.4-ish. Yeah. So how are we going to sign C? Square root, right? So we get c equals whatever the square root of that is. So the square root of the answer. So about 9 point, what did they say? What did this one around to? There's 9.1-ish? See how it works? All right, let's try it again. This one's a little bit harder. Okay, so this is the angle that we're trying to find, right? So angle A, right? So we're going to use the one with the A. So what's the one with A? A squared, B squared plus C squared minus 2 times, whatever those are, times the cosine of the angle that I want, so big A. It's not hard, it's just annoying. Yeah? All right, plug in what I know. Do I know A? Be very careful. What is it? 7. 7 squared is equal to, do I know B? Yeah, it's 5 squared. And 8 squared. Minus 2 times 5 times 8 times the cosine of, I wish I knew it because I'd be done. All right, there's some algebra here. Do not fall for the, oh, I'll just end solve that. That's fine. But first of all, you're not showing your work, so I don't know what you did, so I'm counting it wrong. And 2, it's going to be disabled on the test. Okay? You're going to have to be able to crunch this. Yeah? Once you're good at crunching this in real life, just let a CAS or something solve it for you. Not a big deal. But right now, we need to do the math. I need you to notice that 5 squared plus 8 squared are just numbers, right? So what is that? I'm not going to do all the math here. That's just 25 plus 64. So what is that really? 89? So this is 89 minus, what is 258? 80? Cosine of A equals 49, right? Okay, that's just an algebra problem. So some people come to me and they're like, I don't know how to do this one. Cosine of A, in your brain, just think of it as x. Yeah? Call cosine of A x in your head. So if you had a cosine of, then it would be, then it's not hard at all because you'd have 89 minus 80x. And then would you then say, I don't know how to solve that? Well, if you don't know how to solve that and you're in algebra geometry right now, then that's a problem. Because that should not be hard to solve, yeah? All right, so what are we going to do? What are we moving? Move the 89, right? Minus 89, we get negative 40 equals negative 80 cosine of A. Told you the algebra is annoying, yeah? Now what? Because the cosine of A is just a number that I don't know yet. In your mind, think of it as x. So get rid of the negative 80. So divide both sides by negative 80. What do you end up with? You end up with 1/2 equals the cosine of A. Now you may already know what when is cosine 1/2? Is it? No, that's always tangent, right? I don't think that's one of the ones that you should know. Oh, isn't that 30? Oh, cosine's this sign. Oh, it's 60, right? I think it's 60. We'll check it. All right, so how do we solve this? Yeah.
Divide both sides by cos.
No.
Well, I mean inverse cos.
Inverse cosine of both sides, right? Yeah. All right, so what do we get? Of 1/2, right? Which is 60, what we said, right? So A is 60 degrees. See how this works? A lot of work though, yeah? You got to be good at, that's why I tell people all the time, people aren't bad at geometry. They're bad at geometry because they're bad at what? Algebra. The process is just plugging in numbers, right? And then you've got to survive the crappy part, which is doing the math. All right, let's do one more. That one's pretty easy. I'm trying to find one that's hard. I want it where there's not a cross on the angle. Did they do that every single time? All right, so I'm going to do it here. I'm going to change this to 82, okay? I'm going to do example. No, I can do it here. So I'll just do example 1. All right, so we'll change this to the 62, yeah? That'll make it harder. All right, you ready? So that's the only angle that I know, right? So I'm going to use that one, right? So that is B, right? So I'm going to write the formula first. What is it? B squared equals A squared plus C squared minus 2AC cosine of big B. Yeah? All right, B is, so we get 14 squared equals, A is X, right? So that's X squared plus
12 squared.
you're going to get yourself caught. You're going to get yourself caught into a quadratic, which is why they're not doing that. Because I'm not going to finish this up here. We're going to change it back, but I want you to see it. This will be what? Minus 2 times X times 12, right?
Yeah.
Cosine of what? All right. So I want you to see when you start simplifying this, this will turn into a quadratic. You'll have X squared plus some number minus some variable X with a decimal, yeah? And it gets ugly. So what you do is, instead of doing that, you can actually use the law of sines to get an angle that you do want. So you can use the law of sines to get this angle, right? Right? Because you would do the sine of this, what you would do is the sine of 62 over 14 is equal to the sine of C over 12. You can figure out what C is, which will tell you what this is, which then tells you, then you can use the law of cosines. So one more time, let me show you that. You would do don't copy this, just watch. You would do the sine of 62 over 14 is equal to the sine of C over 12. You could then solve for what? C. You would now know this angle, which means you know this angle. And then if you wanted to solve for that, then that's when you would use the law of cosines. Because otherwise you end up with the quadratic that I think you have the quadratic equation to get, because it's going to be decimals here and you're not going to be able to figure out what the factors are. All right, so we're not going to do that. Yeah, that's why they didn't do that. That's funny. I've never done that before to see what was happening. But that's what you would do, right? You want to try to do that quadratic, you would find another part of it first. Yeah. Okay. All right, so let's just leave it there, right? So let's do one last one. So that would be, that's A, right? So A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cosine of 60 of A, right? Fill in the blanks. That's X squared equals, what's B, please? 14 squared plus C is 12 squared minus 2 times 14 times 12 times the cosine of what? 62, right? Get this whole section right here, all of this is just a number. There's no variables there, so it's just some number, right? So just type that all in, and that's what X squared is. Someone do it for me, please. $182.3 is what somebody said. We agree?
Yes.
Okay, and then just square root that.
$13.5.
13.5-ish, yeah? All right. Is that hard? Is it tedious? Is it annoying? Sure. It's not hard, though. You just have to plug in the pieces. All right. If by chance, remember I said if by chance they did make this to 62, then you would not use law of cosines yet, right? Oh, no, you don't want the one. Yeah, I think this is the problem. What you would do is you'd use law of sines to get the other angle, because you want the angle across from the variable all the time, okay? And you can use the law of sines to get that. All right.